Welcome back to CityLine. With me, I have a man that I think about a lot as I'm driving around Tacoma, and I am making my way around constructions, and I'm reading signs and following the detours. And yep, he's here right now, and we have questions. Please join me in welcoming Scott Thompson. You are with Sound Transit, and you are the Public Information Officer. Welcome back to CityLine.
Thanks, Amanda. It's great to be here again.
It's great to have you here, and I do mean that. I do think about you. I think, what is this on schedule? What does Scott think about this? So let's just jump in, shall we?
Sure. So I think you're talking about our Hilltop Tacoma Link extension project. You know, our 2.5 miles of new light rail line there in downtown Tacoma. Interestingly, I've toured the project a couple times the last couple days, and there's a lot of progress that we've made. There's still a lot of work going on. I can tell you, the track work, the rails in the street, we're almost 99% complete with that work. Yeah, and you're starting to see, if you've been through that corridor, you're starting to see the station platforms take formation, the canopies that are going to be at those station platforms, the steel structures are starting to go up. So it's really starting to look like, a transit line. Now, it's not just all the underground stuff we've been doing, but you're actually starting to see stuff above ground. I think that's pretty exciting. We still got a lot of major work to do. There's going to be a major tie-in there around 9th and Commerce, where we have to tie in the existing line to the new line. That's going to be one of the last big parts of this project that we've got to do. And when we do that, we're likely going to have to shut down Tacoma Link for about 30 days or so to make all those system tie-ins. So we did this back over the summer when we tied in new rail at our expanded OMF there on 25th around the Tacoma Dome area. And we'll set up a bus bridge as we did last time and have shuttle buses going back and forth to still allow people to use Tacoma Link. The other big work that I think that's going on is up on Martin Luther King Boulevard, where we're installing over 11,000 feet of new curb and gutter on both sides of Martin Luther King. Some in front of your studios there right now going on. So that's a lot of work going on. There's new signals going in. There's the power poles for the overhead catenary system lines, the electrical, current that will power the trains. So that's all going in. But we're really excited, and we're looking forward to opening that new line in 2022.
Absolutely. So last time we talked, we spoke about an open house you were going to host one to gather input for the Tacoma and Lakewood stations. How did that go?
Yeah, so we've got a couple projects for the South Tacoma and the Lakewood Sounder stations down there, and they're access projects, which means for us, it's how do we provide more access for people to walk, bike, drop people off, get more people to those sounder stations in those neighborhoods easily. And how can we make that easier for people to get there? And it may, we're also looking at parking. Parking may not be in the budget. We have a relatively small, bucket of money for both these stations, but we've been doing a couple rounds of dialogue with, looking for community input. We are doing a lot of talking with city officials in Tacoma and in Lakewood about what they'd like to see and how can we integrate those stations better into those surrounding neighborhoods, and what are some paths they would like to see to get people to those sounder stations. I think, the community feedback's been good. People are looking for more pedestrian access and more bike access, whether that's, can we help with bike lanes? Can we improve sidewalks? Can we build some pedestrian bridges over busy roadways? All those types of things. What enhancements can we do at the station? So we're likely going to go before our board with some proposals of projects, in the first quarter of next year to get their gauge and what should we move forward with. And then that'll continue our process on. So we're really in the early planning process for this and gathering feedback. But in the next probably 6 to 8 months, we'll bring some projects before our board for some further discussion and decisions from them.
You remind me that projects always have questions around them. And as we move forward, there's always questions that we can anticipate and questions that we cannot anticipate. Sound Transit, you have a writer survey, and that's for those of us who hop on a link or hop on the bus through November 12th. How's the response been so far?
I think the response has been pretty good. We're having some challenges, particularly in Pierce County now. We partner, Sound Transit doesn't operate a lot of the transit systems that we run. So we don't, for the ST Express buses, we contract in Pierce County with Pierce Transit to provide those operators and things like that. And one of the things that we're experiencing there is Pierce County is really a shortage of drivers right now. So we're looking to how can we best, maximize the workforce that they have and keep bus routes going. So, we don't want to cut bus routes because we can't operate them, but there is going to probably this fall be some reduction of how many routes we're able to get out of Pierce County, just because we don't have Pierce Transit doesn't have enough operators to run all the buses. And that's, it's not, I don't think it's really a pandemic related thing. There's a lot of workforce shortages in a lot of industries right now all over. So, we're trying to do the best we can to, mitigate disruptions and make sure people can get to where they're going. But, those are things we want to hear in the writer surveys. We get more information about what people want to see and what do they like. And so that influences how we, plan service later on down the line.
Absolutely. Scott, in the couple of years I've been interviewing you, one of the things I enjoy about our conversations is that you are in the business of lowering barriers. That's what you do. Transportation barriers, feedback barriers, and pandemic barriers. So let's go back to, in order to keep both the Sound Transit staff and your riders safe, what COVID protocols are in place now?
So it's still a federal requirement to wear a mask on transit systems, and that's bus, Sounder, Link Light Rail, Tacoma Link. That's a federal mandate that we have. Our agency has implemented a vaccine mandate as well, and we're as an agency, I think we're around 99%, compliant with that. Now that doesn't necessarily mean the operators. All our operating partners have their own policies and stuff that they do for their employees as well too. So. But basically, the big one out there is still the masking, and that's something we're following from the federal government. So as long as that's in place, we will ask people to do that. We have dispensers for masks. If people forget one, we have dispensers on almost all our vehicles for people to pick up a mask, and so we'll make them readily available, and we encourage people to still continue to mask up and do what they can to help with the pandemic.
Absolutely. So Scott, I know you are a planner. You are always thinking ahead. So what are the future Sound Transit projects in Pierce County right now?
Well, I think the big one that's, still on the horizon is getting Link Light Rail from Federal Way to Tacoma. If folks were following our discussions over the summer with the board on realignment, that project was originally scheduled for 2030. That has now been pushed back a couple years to 2032. So there's, we will be publishing a draft environmental impact statement for that project mid next year. There will be another round of public feedback as part of that process to come back in it. And then eventually down the line, we will go to the board and they will pick some preferred alternatives. We're still looking at, various routes, various station locations as part of that project. I think one of the other things that is now getting pushed back a little bit. There, that project currently includes 4 stations. We'll have a station in South Federal Way, 1 in Fife, and 2 in Tacoma. And there were parking with a couple of those stations. That parking may also get delayed. Those parking initiatives may get delayed as well because of our financial realignments and what the board did with realignment. But we're still moving forward with that. That's probably the biggest project on the horizon. I must also give a shout out to where I live in Puyallup. We are constructing a new parking garage and surface parking lot for the Puyallup Sounder Station here that should open in the spring of 2022. A new 500 plus parking garage and a 165 space surface parking lot. Puyallup happens to be one of our most used sounder stations in the South Corridor. So we think that's going to be a great boon as well. And we've also, if you're a sounder, we've also added back a couple sounder trips this fall. So you can now get an early afternoon trip out of Seattle back down south and things like that, which had been cut during the pandemic. So, and we're starting to run more game trains for Seahawks games this fall too. So we just ran one last Sunday for folks in Pierce County to get up to the Seahawks games. We have a couple more of those for the fall. So things are starting to come back as they were, pre-pandemic, but we're still working toward all that.
Scott, I cannot say thank you enough. I feel so fortunate to have you on once every 4 or 5 months. And when I do, it amazes me the amount of work that you and your team have accomplished in that short amount of time. As I've been driving through Tacoma going, wow, when is this detour going to end? But I got to tell you, so impressive. Scott, thank you to you and your team for continuing to lower barriers and continuing to show us the way home, to work, and to the grocery store. You make a living in this community pretty sweet. And so I thank you so much for all of your time and effort.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
My pleasure. We have much more to come on CityLine. Don't go away. We'll be right back.